Zahirah, and I am a full-time traveler. Some of you might have already known me as Merantau Dunia. You know, before Merantau Dunia existed, I used to believe that people like me weren't meant for the big world. If I had told my younger self that I'll be giving a TED Talk for traveling the world, her jaw would have dropped to the floor. She'll be asking, "Girl, what do you mean?" Because in Southeast Asia, we were raised a certain way. We should stay close to home, we need to follow a certain path, and we shouldn't wander. And I also used to think that traveling was only meant for the privileged. So how, despite all this, a young Malaysian girl like me ended up making traveling my full-time job? And I will tell you. But first, let me take you a little bit back to our history. So historically, our ancestors were called Perantaus. By definition, it means people who migrated from their origin. They crossed many oceans, and they traveled long before traveling became something cool on socials. And unlike us, they were not doing it for fun. They were doing it to find opportunities, to grow, and most importantly, to survive. And maybe that spirit never left us. Maybe it's just buried under mundane expectations like find a stable job, settle down at this age, and just don't make life complicated. But deep down, that part of us that wants to wander is still there waiting. So, a lot of people think that my journey kicked off because I was lucky enough to further my studies in New Zealand. But I don't think it was luck. I think it was because I was confident and brave enough to try a different path. Let me tell you a little story. So I didn't come from a family that's well off. We only could afford to go to vacations locally. We didn't get fancy presents like other kids. But one thing my parents made sure of was that we got proper education. So most of their savings went to us. So after high school, I applied for a scholarship to study adventure tourism management. Something so oddly specific that even I thought, hey, this kind of course exists? But yeah, I applied, heard nothing from them. So then I moved on and accepted an offer to further my studies in TESOL at UiTM. Although I believe that teaching is a wonderful profession, but I believe that my aspirations were elsewhere. I accepted that course anyway because it offers allowance, something I needed because I was already financially independent at 17. I didn't have the luxury to explore my passion because I needed stability. But miraculously, one day I received a call. It's a scholarship, and I got it, and I was so happy. But my parents hesitated because it was a new program, and I was already enrolled in TESOL. But me being me, the last member of the family, a little bit of a rebel, I fought for it, and they eventually said yes. And I love them so much for it, for trusting me with that decision, because that decision made me the first person in my family to leave the country. You see, I get asked all the time, how can I travel like you? How can I become a travel influencer? But here's the thing, we all get so fixated by what we see online. The mountains, the snow, the backpacks, the Merantau lifestyle. But you don't see the part where I did not have any financial backup. Back in New Zealand, I did a lot of odd jobs. I worked as a housekeeper. I cleaned toilets, I folded bed sheets, I worked on boats, anything I could to survive. So that's me. That was me when I was working in New Zealand. I looked happy, but I was actually cleaning toilets. And not to everyone's surprise here, in Malaysia, people often look down on these jobs. But in New Zealand, everyone does it. Adults, students, travelers. And that made me realize that there are so many ways that you can earn whilst traveling to allow you to travel for a longer period of time. I wasn't ashamed of it, because we were all there for a reason, to experience the world. And plus, those jobs taught me how to be humble, to work hard, to earn my freedom. So I believe there is nothing lowly about the grit and determination it takes to build the life that you want. However, it is no lie that we live in a society that highly values stability. We all hold on to something which I call the 5 steps towards a stable life. First, you get a degree. Next, you get a job that you may like, you may hate, it doesn't matter. And then you get married, you settle down, and then you repeat that cycle to your young ones. So yeah, it's no surprise that stepping out of it can feel wrong, especially if you're a woman. So to answer your question, Zahirah, how do you travel full-time? How do you do it alone? What is the first step? And I wish I had a fancy answer for you guys, but really it's just this. Start with what you have, even if it's not much, even if you don't know what you're doing. So yeah, here we go. Tips and tricks that you can use if you want to start traveling. Let's start with the most important part, how to travel safely and confidently. You see, confidence doesn't magically appear. It comes from preparation, knowing your route, understanding the culture, having backup plans. When you have all this, you will have the confidence and say to yourself, hey, I got this. And then awareness. Simple yet important safety habits like sharing your location. Use that Find My. Use that WhatsApp sharing location and share with your friends and families. If I don't share it, I will be getting a phone call from my dad because all he wants to know is that his daughter is safe. And trusting your instinct and avoiding deserted areas at night. Next is community. Your first big trip could be with student clubs. You can join outdoor communities because you learn through people. Whenever I travel, I've never really been scared because wherever I go, I join a group or I'll make friends along the way through outdoor communities. You see, travel isn't about fearless, it's about being prepared. Okay, moving on. Oh, sorry, that was the picture of me with my community. Moving on. How to find purpose through travel. You hear people all the time saying, oh, travel here, travel this, but what is the point? And I think this is why. Because when you travel, you will meet people who live life differently. Some don't rush into marriage. Some probably work seasonally. Some probably takes gap year. And then you'll start realizing, hey, there are so many ways to live life. That your hometown, your parents' expectations, or your friend's opinion, it's not just that. And from there comes new perspective. Because the first time you meet someone whose values, priorities, or definition of success completely different from yours, something shifts. Your world expands. And from that expansion comes clarity. And I think the most important part about traveling is that you learn who you are without the noise. Because when you travel, it removes structure. There's no noise. No one knows you. No one defines you. And you get to tell yourself, hey, this is actually who I am. And I think that is so beautiful. Okay, moving on to the next one is what have I gained through travel? A lot of us comes from families that don't normally allow it. And I get it. It's a scary world out there. But there's a lot of beauty in it too. Travel has taught me boundaries. When you travel, you learn to say no, to choose yourself, to protect yourself. And then you get to learn about strength. Not that I can do everything by myself, but the quiet confidence that you can survive. You know that moment where you make plans in your group chat to travel somewhere and they will say, oh, we'll see. Well, I don't know what they'll see, but I'm definitely saying something because if I want to go somewhere, I will go. Fear stopped being a reason for me to stay still. When plans fell apart, I adapted. Missed buses, cancelled hikes because of weather, I learned to solve problems calmly. That version of Zah that needed constant reassurance is now standing up for herself, and I'm very proud of her for that. You see, travel didn't make me fearless, it made me brave. And lastly, something that all of you want to know, how can students afford and access travel? And let me be honest with you guys, you don't need to be rich to start traveling, but you do need a strategy. When I was a student, I did part-time jobs, housekeeping, cafe work, retail. But now, we live in a digital world. There are so many ways that you can make money online, so utilize it. And next is start small. When we talk about travel, we often think of places far away like Europe or taking a flight to New Zealand. But even I have yet to explore Europe because it is so expensive to travel there. So why not start with something smaller? Take a bus to a local town, to Perak or somewhere like that, and maybe take a flight to somewhere further, which is Langkawi. It doesn't need to be far. Instead of spending money to go to expensive cafes or go shopping over the weekend, why not use that money to go on a short camping trip to Perak? And I promise you, it costs way less than 100 ringgit to do that. And lastly, something all of you need to master, which is learn smart budgeting. Travel isn't expensive, but lifestyle is. I understand that we now live in a world of consumerism. Whenever we open our socials, people be buying this, people be buying that, they travel luxuriously. But you need to be disciplined enough to travel within your means. Hostels, cooking your own meals, taking public transportation. Because once you cut the unnecessary, the world opens up. Okay. The point of me talking today is not to ask you to travel full-time or to become a travel influencer. But I am encouraging you to imagine life beyond fear, to stop making excuses, and to step outside of your comfort zone. When I named my platform Merantau Dunia, it wasn't random. I wanted to honor that we're not doing anything wrong. We are just continuing what our ancestors did. Finding our purpose through curiosity, through exploration, and through movement. Because we are now modern Perantaus, not in boats anymore, but with backpacks, cheap flights, and visas. And that's enough. How do I play this? Okay. So Merantau Dunia became my way of giving back, a way to help Malaysians see that you can travel safely and confidently, a way to share what I wish I knew earlier, a way to prove that people like us from small towns, simple families, conservative backgrounds, we can all explore the world. But before I end, I need to acknowledge this. I wouldn't be here if my parents had not trusted me with my decisions, even when they didn't fully understand it. And I wouldn't be here without my friends who cheered me, who checked in on me, encouraged me, and reminded me why I started in the first place. Especially on the days where I doubted myself. And I just want to remind you gently that your life can look however you want it to be. You don't need to be brave all the time, just be brave enough to take the first step. And from my experience, the moment you step into the unknown, even if you're scared, that's when you start discovering who you really are. Thank you.